Welcome to the Intelligent Estate Podcast, where luxury meets smart living. I'm Travis Leo, and I'll be your guide into the world of cutting-edge technology, architectural elegance, and what it truly means to live intelligently in today's most extraordinary homes. Every other week, we'll explore how innovation is redefining the meaning of comfort, convenience, and control in high-end living spaces. Whether you're designing your dream estate or just love dreaming about them, you're in the right place. We'll feature industry experts with years of experience designing and installing intelligent home systems across the globe. Today's inaugural episode is all about how far we've come and where we're headed in the world of luxury home technology. From voice-controlled everything to AI-curated lighting and wellness features, smart homes aren't just smart anymore. They're intuitive and intelligent. And I'll even take you on a virtual room-by-room tour of what a fully intelligent estate really looks like, from the kitchen to the courtyard. So let's open the front gate, shall we? To understand where we're going, let's start with where we've been. When I first got into this industry a little over 15 years ago, luxury home technology meant a fancy universal remote, a clunky touch panel, and maybe a motion sensing light in the hallway. Today, home technology involves predictive systems that monitor your wellness, adjust your environment in real time, and make sustainability not just a feature, but a lifestyle. We're seeing a massive convergence of aesthetics and intelligence. Homeowners now expect smart technology to be beautiful, invisible, and effortless. Think invisible speakers in the walls, lighting systems that adjust to your circadian rhythm, and homes that learn your habits and anticipate your needs without ever showing a wire. And why am I qualified to talk about this topic? I spent 10 years running a high-end luxury home installation company in Denver, Colorado. I currently run a professional development group of business owners who design, install, and service these luxury home technology systems across the globe. I'm constantly being asked by friends, neighbors, and family, where do I start and what's new in home technology? So I decided to do what everyone else is doing these days and start a podcast to explore these topics with experts from across the globe. I'm new to podcasting, so bear with me as I learn the ropes, but I promise you the guests and content will be worth your time. So let's look at what's really hot in the luxury market right now. First and foremost is AI integration. From climate to lighting to entertainment, AI is everywhere you go in today's smart home. And we'll explore AI in a future episode. Lighting is really popular right now. Intelligent fixtures with smart control, circadian rhythms, time of day lighting. Intelligent fixtures are everywhere in today's smart home, and planning for them at pre-construction phase is really, really important. Wellness technology is really starting to take over, whether it's water filtration, air quality monitoring, sleep optimization. A smart home is a healthy home, and many of our clients are looking to put this technology into their homes at this time. We're seeing a resurgence in large format TVs. TV is still the centerpiece of the entertainment world, and now with advanced LED walls, video walls, we're starting to see 150, 200-inch LED screens in many of today's top high-end homes. We'll explore video walls in an upcoming episode. Golf simulators are exploding in popularity. Golf is no longer a summer activity. It's a 365-day-a-year thing that's great for hosting friends and family and working on your game inside. Discrete music and outdoor audio video are incredibly popular, even more so today. Think invisible speakers, think audio in every home, think a party atmosphere in the backyard. And of course, security continues to be a popular feature in today's high-end homes, whether it's biometric entry, smart perimeter monitoring, and encrypted networks. The best part about all this technology is it can be integrated so seamlessly that you barely notice it. That's the goal of true luxury, when the technology disappears into the background and you're left with pure experience. Now let's take this from concept to reality. Imagine walking into a fully intelligent estate. What would you see, hear, and feel? Let's take a quick room-by-room tour and find out. As you approach the estate's private entrance, the video intercom at the gate lights up, displaying a crystal clear image of your face. A chime sounds and the gate swings open smoothly. You're expected. The intelligent lighting system kicks in as you drive up the long, elegant driveway. Soft, inviting lights guide your path, adjusting brightness based on the time of day. The home seems to recognize your arrival, greeting you like an old friend. You step into the foyer and are instantly enveloped by perfectly balanced music that follows you wherever you go. Crisp highs, deep bass, not a single dead spot. Whether it's jazz, classical, or lo-fi beats, it feels like the home knows exactly what you want to hear. Walking into the heart of the house, you're drawn to the family room, where a stunning large-screen LED wall dominates the space. It's vivid and sharp, ideal for movies, games, or watching Sunday football with friends. Glancing through the oversized glass doors, you catch a glimpse of the backyard, alive with ambient energy. Intelligent landscape lighting breathes life into the evening, automatically illuminating trees, paths, and the pool deck just as the sun dips below the horizon. There's a party vibe outside, effortlessly maintained by synchronized lighting and music. Downstairs, the basement's a golfer's dream. A state-of-the-art golf simulator lets you play Pebble Beach without ever leaving home. To either side, two TVs stream SportsCenter and the Golf Channel, ensuring you're always up to date with the pros. Next door, the exercise room is climate perfect. The temperature adapts to your workout intensity, while energizing lighting boosts your motivation. Every rep, every step feels just right. As you walk from room to room, you notice the motorized shades glide silently into position, adjusting based on time, light, or your voice command. Privacy and daylight automatically balanced. You take out your iPhone, curious to check your network speed. In seconds, you smile. 1 gigabit upload and download speeds. The enterprise-grade network, designed meticulously during pre-wire, handles streaming, automation, and security without missing a beat. Just then, your phone buzzes. A security system alerts you that the gate was opened after 10 p.m. With a simple tap, you close it. Remotely, securely, instantly. These are just a few examples of technologies that we will be exploring in the coming months as we dive into the intelligent estate. Each episode will highlight one specific area of smart home technology with an industry expert, or two. We'll keep the conversation light and casual while giving you the information you need to make technology selections for your home. If you're an interior designer, a builder, or an architect, you'll get insights from experts on how to incorporate these technologies into the planning process of your home. We're happy to have you along for the ride. All right, now that we've toured the intelligent estate and explored what's possible, let's hear from someone who's actually bringing these innovations to life. Our guest today is Jay Bachelar, the president and founder at Metro 18. Metro 18 specializes in high-end smart home integration for some of the most exclusive properties in the country. With offices in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Austin, and New York, Jay has worked with everyone from architects to interior designers to bring seamless, intelligent living into spaces where design and tech have to coexist flawlessly. From voice-controlled wine cellars to biometric panic rooms, he's seen it all. And today he's here to share his insights on what's trending, what's timeless, and what's just around the corner in the world of luxury home technology. Welcome to the Intelligent Estate, Jay. If you could, in 30 seconds or less, tell our audience about your background and the background of Metro 18.
Hey, thanks for having me, Travis. So I fell into this just totally by happenstance, answering a career ad for a summer job at UCLA in 1985. I was looking for something to do that wasn't, related to my science major, biology, and I responded to an ad from a company that was looking for folks to install business phone systems in people's homes in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And at the time, this was not an industry. The AV industry, as we know it from the residential side, did not exist. And so this was just a fun thing to do in the summer, and I loved it. I enjoyed working with my hands. I enjoyed getting to use tools, which I'd never done in my life, plugging in on projects where people were doing construction. And I just realized very quickly that I had an innate aptitude for this, to be involved in this environment. And so little by little, I kept working in different areas. Worked in retail as a stereo salesman in Westwood, selling hi-fi, and every bit of it I loved passionately. And I soon discovered that this was really something that was driving me a lot more than spending 15 more years to be a doctor. Fast forward 40 years, and here we are.
Wow. So, in those 40 years, Jay, I mean, you've obviously worked in some of the most exquisite estates across the United States and across the globe for that matter. How many homes do you think you've worked in?
Oh, it's in the thousands, definitely. From working in apartment buildings, high rises, in downtown Los Angeles and downtown San Francisco, to beautiful townhome renovations in New York, to really sprawling mega estates and compounds in remote places like El Paso, Texas, and Santa Fe, New Mexico.
What's your favorite style of architecture or favorite style of home that you get to work in these days or ever?
Well, that's actually a really good question because while all the stereo and TV stuff was very interesting and still is, what really ended up being a huge passion for me is learning about architecture just by virtue of the fact that I was working and immersed in this environment. And the timing was impeccable because I was at an inflection point in Southern California where people like Richard Meyer and the people that had evolved from Lautner's and Frank Lloyd Wright studios, people like that were just getting going. And I learned with them. And I developed a really strong affinity for architecture and design. And I have to say, I've been very spoiled because I've gotten to work with some of the premier mid-century architects of all time of history. And personally, that really is kind of my vernacular. But I work in a lot of traditional homes as well, and I appreciate all of it.
So we on the intelligent estate we do pick favorites. So I need you to pick a favorite architect that you've worked with. So it's like picking which of your kids do you like the most. I get, but you gotta pick a favorite architect here. So
Wow, that's kind of an incriminating question.
very much
Um,
so.
oh man, well, we have done a massive volume of work over the last 20 years with a firm out of Los Angeles called Marmol Radziner. And they've had an amazing trajectory in history, specifically in the mid-century movement. And that work has brought us projects all, and clients all over the country. And I have to say, we have really enjoyed the collaboration with them.
Great. Obviously, Jay, as a technologist, you have technology in your own home. What's your favorite part of technology in your own personal residence that you live
Well, it's the stuff that the boss doesn't scream at me about. But kidding aside, we're my home is an active showroom and it's an active demo facility where we vet products long before we go and put it out in the wild to victimize our clients. Right? If it can't perform well here at home, then it's probably not going to work great for our customers. And so we're really responsible that way. So my favorite is the stuff that really is tried and true. And as you know, and a lot of the members in our industry know, I refer to this as our chocolate cake recipe, which is a fixed recipe of products we've been doing for over 15 years now.
in? Great. So obviously, 40 years, a lot has changed, a lot has evolved, and it's going to continue to evolve. When you guys get engaged in a project today, what are people asking for in technology in today's luxury estates? What's the hey, I gotta have this, and what's the hey, I don't even know I need this, and then you explain to them, hey, this is something that you should really contemplate when you're building a luxury property.
That's a really good question, Travis. So actually, the first thing our customers say, which is a little counterintuitive, is I would like things that are really simple. That's very different than the kind of conversations I was having 20, 30 years ago, where people were literally wanting to take stuff that I was seeing at the CES show in Vegas and come and deploy it in their homes for the first time. Now, when we sit down with a very successful family who is building a multi-million dollar estate, the first thing they say is we really want something simple. And so that really kind of drives and steers the conversation from there. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to introduce things like golf simulators. That tends to be really kind of popular right now in homes. Um, you know, Dedicated theaters, not like before, but media rooms, right?
Okay.
Flexible spaces that the family is likely to use a lot more than a space that is just used for one thing, right? So we get into those conversations, but there's an overarching kind of vibe, an overarching conversation, and that conversation is always, it has to be simple, right? There can be sophistication under the hood, but it's got to be easy for everybody to use. And most importantly, when there are challenges, and there will be, it's got to be quickly resolvable.
You use the word simple, and I think that's a word that gets thrown around in this industry a lot, and it means different things to different people. Simple to somebody could be 5 apps on a phone. Simple to that same different person could be a universal remote control that controls everything in the house. How do you guys think about simple when you're dealing with a new client engagement or a new project?
Well, it's kind of intuitive for us, and that ties back to what I said a few minutes ago about our recipe. We Because we've been doing this basic formula over and over for many years now, simple to us is deploying something that when the client moves in on day one, we can guarantee that it'll be about 98% functional,
Okay.
right? We don't want to have somebody sitting on their living room floor writing code as they're moving in. That's not a successful experience, and that's not something that's going to give the client a sense that things are simple.
Yeah.
Um,
I think.
so I would say simple means intuitive, simple means consistent, and that connects to the fact that a lot of our clients are people we've already done 3, 4, or 5 homes for. So regenerating and reapplying that same methodology, that's the simplest solution to give this family a sense that they have something that's going to be useful for them and be very robust over many years.
Talk about that a little bit more, because obviously if you've done 5 projects for a family or a couple, you've established a long-term relationship. You're clearly good at what you do. You clearly are good at servicing that to where they keep coming back and likely referring you to others. What has allowed you guys to be that kind of king of the estate, the company that people come back to time and time for these luxury properties?
Well, I think that's really the key. We are involved in technology. We utilize really sophisticated technology to do what we do. However, we didn't invent that technology, right? I didn't invent Sony. I wish I did, but that's not the case. We are curators and purveyors of existing technology. So really, our challenge is how do we curate these things together, compile them together, and serve and deliver them to a client in a way that is going to be very consistent. And so while there is very sophisticated tech under the hood, the client is not going to be popping the hood open to look at the engine. The client's going to be sitting on the sofa picking up a remote and expecting that if they paid $500,000 to watch better television, that it's going to work.
Well, do you see any differences in the geographic markets that you serve? I mean, obviously in the Bay Area, you have, a lot of wealthy technology customers and, .com people. And in New York, you probably have more of a finance background, all within that, luxury high net worth individual. What do you see differences in terms of, market demand across the different markets?
That's a great question. So, first of all, let's talk about what's consistent and similar across the coast in the country. Simple. So whether we're in Los Angeles doing a 50,000 square foot 4 building estate in Bel Air, or we're in New York working in a 2,400 square foot townhome, which might cost almost the same depending on the address, the client expectations is still that it's going to be very straightforward and easy and that it's going to be reliable. However, there are nuances. So for example, in Southern California, our customers there want 2 televisions in every room, right? It's a very entertainment and media consumptive,
Okay.
environment. In the Bay Area, some of our clients are embarrassed to admit that they watch television. At the end of the project, it'll end up having a couple TVs. But starting out, it's very interesting, right? And that could be because they do a lot of streaming on their devices, or it could just be a lot of general political and cultural leanings,
Okay.
right? Very, very different. I find Texas and New York and other parts, the mountain states where we work, I find them to be more of a hybrid or kind of a confluence of those things together. The Bay Area and Southern California are more different than Southern California, Texas, and New York are, in my
Yeah.
experience.
I imagine things like lighting and networking are pervasive across all of those. It used to be the router that you got from the cable company or the phone company was good enough, and now you're deploying these managed networks in homes, enterprise grade systems. Talk a little bit about that and kind of what your belief is in terms of the network that goes into today's high end estate.
Absolutely. So that is the common thread that is unquestionable across all of our projects, regardless of where they are. The wired and wireless network, or the local area network, has gone, like you said, from being products that you could buy at Best Buy and self-deploy in a few minutes to being really intense commercial and industrial grade products, which are the same things that are used to support airports and hospitals and commercial facilities.
Hmm.
And for the last 8 or 9 years, one of the things that's really differentiated and actually changed our business, and this was something driven by one of our Silicon Valley clients who set up Facebook's first data centers. That
Oh,
was his
wow.
claim to fame. He got us hooked on this level of intensity in terms of how we approach networks. And since then, we have built a corporate IT business within the envelope of the home IT, AV and low voltage operation.
Okay.
And that has been a massive help to the growth of the business because everything in the home, whether it's the Lutron processor, the security cameras that are PoE connected, the streaming music player, everything is connected to the network. Not to mention the parents or the homeowners, their children, and their guests who are all on all their devices constantly streaming content. So the network determines and sets the tone, not only for the experience with our systems, it also sets the tone for the infrastructure we leave in place to how we support the clients long term and how we provide them remote support
Okay.
for 3 years included with every one of our installs.
Expand on that a little bit. So, I move into the home. Obviously, technology is going to have some challenges over time. You guys provide 3 years of complimentary support
Turnkey.
for turnkey. Wow. And
Turnkey,
you
that's right.
and you guys do that all yourselves with your staff and your organization.
Correct. We don't outsource that. So we have set up a sub operation service organization. And within that, there's an IT specialty group. And that group is monitoring the hundreds and hundreds of these industrial Cisco deployments now that we've amassed over across the country for the last 8 years.
Uh,
Those systems are all deployed uniformly using the same switches, the same firewalls, the same access points. Now, of course, every couple of years, Cisco updates their products, so we have to make some adjustments. But at the end of the day, it's still fundamentally the same basic thing, and so we are giving them enhancements, but it's still the core infrastructure and foundation that everything in the home is running off of.
I know when I used to run a company, we would present an enterprise grade network to a client, and it would be $30,000. Let's throw a number out there. And I would get so much pushback around, well, I can get a Wi Fi access point at Best Buy or pick up my Apple Airport, whatever it may be. I assume you get some of that in your markets. How do you combat that and deal with that to get people to understand just how important that enterprise grade network is in today's home?
That's an important question. So today's average network deployment for the projects that we work on is pushing 70 or $80,000.
Wow.
Yes. And if you think of it, it's somewhat commensurate with the overall spend when you look at amplification, custom speakers, projector equipment, televisions, home automation gear, lighting controls. It's actually a relatively minor slice. It's not $2,000, but it's still a relatively minor slice of a typical $500,000 to $700,000 project.
So is
And
that a
when you
good is that a good rule of thumb? Sorry to interrupt you. Of five to seven hundred
it,
thousand
it
dollars,
uh,
$70,000 network.
abs
Okay.
absolutely it is. Now, of course, it depends. Is this a residence that's in a skyscraper that's flying 150 feet up in the air? That's a different. Or is this a residential compound with 5 buildings that are spread out on 100 acres?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it can change quite a bit. But what I will say is what doesn't change is the importance of the network and the way that we overcome the conversation around how come I can't use a $3,500 local area network that I can buy at Best Buy. And the way that I address that is I say, look, when you're designing a home, if you're an architect, or when you're building a home, if you're a builder or a client, is the place that you want to economize the dirt preparation, the grading, all of the structural prep, the concrete, the aggregate, the rebar forms. Is that where you really want to economize and then layer $1,500 to $2,000 foot finishes on top of that? Or does it make the most sense from a pragmatic standpoint to provide the most stable foundation and footing so that whatever finishes you layer on it, they're not going to be, shaky and fracture? And when you explain this to a successful person, and anybody building a $5 million or $10 million plus home obviously has had some success, they all of a sudden the light goes on for them, and they say, "Oh, wow." And then they say, "Well, but this is equipment that I use at my office. Do I really need that level of intensity around the network for my home?" And what I say to that is, I say, your office, with all due respect, is a 9 to 5 environment. Your home is a 24/7, 365 environment with a lot more variation in the inhabitants and how they're using things. It's a bigger laboratory experiment in terms of things that can go wrong than the rigidity of a corporate environment where there's IT staff during the day. And when you present it this way and you explain these things, most successful business people or homeowners, they will immediately resonate and say, "Great, that makes sense."
What working in thousands of homes as you have, you've probably been invited to take over something or redo a system over the years. Where do you see where mistakes are being made? I think in general, this industry can sometimes get a bad rap because of too many installations gone south that just don't work out for whatever reason. Where do you, when a customer contacts you and says, "We're not happy with our provider," or "We're not happy with our system, we want you to come and take a look at it," what's usually the root cause of why that dissatisfaction exists?
Well, about 20% of our work, maybe 25%, is takeover or redo work.
Okay.
So we do a significant volume of that annually. And we actually love that kind of work because it's the most challenging kind, right? Because you're taking somebody who has had one, two, or maybe more not great experiences. So it's already a challenging dynamic to enter into, right? They're already going to be highly suspect of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to step into this and you have to absorb the liability and you have to turn it into a success story. And sometimes people are not very patient. They're not very realistic. So it becomes really more about how do you manage the personality dynamics and the logistics of working in a finished home. It's absolutely the most difficult type of work to do in our industry. And the reason we love it is because at the end of the day, if we can take somebody in the course of 2 months versus a 3 to 5 year construction project, and we can take them from here and execute to here in 2 or 3 months, and they're happy, and now they're tethered to our support system, you can't buy advertising or marketing dollars because they're going to tell everybody that they know.
So it's a more immediate return on an emotional investment of seeing
immediate return,
zero to hero type of thing.
Yeah, it's like you've gone to 2 doctors, they didn't make you feel better, you feel awful, and you go to a guy and he makes you feel better. That guy's the hero.
Yep. And you're going to tell all your friends and family.
You're going to tell everybody you got to go to this doctor.
Yep.
Exactly. So it's the hardest kind of work. The stakes are very high. And sometimes we're brought on to do that work with the promise of a much larger project. So they have a current home. It's already been through 3 integrators. They're not happy, and they're building a brand new 35,000 square foot compound in the Mountain States. We first have to execute for this smaller project. There's a lot at stake there.
Yeah.
Right?
What you mentioned that family that's gone through 3 integrators. What's the root cause of why relationships fail? Why do the clients fall out of love with their integrator or their system, whatever it might be?
Number 1, service.
Okay.
They paid a lot of money for something and they're not getting the service that they need. That's number 1. Number 2, they were sold stuff that they didn't ask for. So improperly set and calibrated expectations from the start of the project.
Okay.
And number 3, all kinds of lingering issues that everybody is chasing in circles for sometimes for years. We'll find people that have put up with stuff for 6 years. It's like if your car's not running, you're not going to leave it parked on the street for 6 years.
Yeah, you're going to take it
Typically.
into a mechanic shop.
You're going to do something about it, especially if it's a brand new expensive car. You would be surprised how tolerant people can be, especially really wealthy, successful people, to give their integrators a chance to make it right.
Yeah.
Not always that's not always the case, but it is a lot of times the case.
I had a buddy who asked me to go take a look at one of his friend's house just to give him an assessment. And this is about a 6-year-old home, probably $8 million construction, and the Lutron keypads still weren't engraved. And I walked in and I'm like, how can you be living in this house after 6
With the paper
years?
tags.
It didn't even have the paper tags anymore.
Didn't even have the paper tags.
No, it was literally just the 6 blank buttons. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we
My
doing
favorite,
here?
my favorite is the paper tags have been on there so long that the paper is curled over.
Yeah, somebody didn't finish the last 5% of that job, did they?
Well, so that's calibration of expectations, right? We don't let our customers move in with paper tags. Even if that's what they or the lighting designer insist on doing, we don't allow that because we know how that story is likely to end.
Yeah.
We would rather go through some heartache and some expense to re-engrave keypads than to end up in that scenario.
I think that's smart because it's easier to be an editor than an author, and if you wait for people to edit or change, they'll never make up their mind. And if you
That's exactly right.
force a decision on them and say, hey, we can go change a couple of these if you want, it's going to really make the experience over the next 10 to 15 years much better. You mentioned that I wanted to come back to security. So we haven't really talked about security, but again, with the clientele that you deal with, security has to be a paramount concern for them. Talk a little bit about the trends that you're seeing in home security, technology when it comes to home security and estate level projects today.
Absolutely. So for a lot of our clients, they have full-time staff. And even if they don't, they have people that are monitoring their properties. So for them, it's not that they're going to be really rigorous and vigilant about setting an alarm or a burglar alarm system. They want to monitor and see what's going on.
Okay.
So they want more sophistication around devices and technology that allows them to see, is there a car parked in their driveway when they haven't been there for a month? Did the landscaper show up or did he not when he's been sending a bill every week saying that he has, right? And so just like with networks where we're using industrial commercial networking technology, we're also using industrial commercial camera and surveillance technology, all of which coordinates and connects directly to the network.
Okay.
And it has a lot of very sophisticated AI capabilities so that a client could take a picture of a person of interest, upload it to the camera system, and get text messages if that person shows up at their Montana property when they're away.
That's cool.
Right? So there are versions of that in the consumer sphere. However, this is a different grade of product. And it has a different grade of resolution and of robustness in terms of how it looks on their, bolted to the front of their home, things like that. Electronic locks or electrified locking hardware. That's a big part of what we do.
Okay.
And that's a very intense coordination with the architect and the contractor and the door hardware supplier, all of that stuff. That can be one of the most sophisticated and involved parts of what we do on a big project.
And I assume that extends out to access control and gates and
Vehicle gates.
property access and the like.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Yes. Yep.
you mentioned AI. What AI is obviously everybody's talking about AI everywhere today. So what are some of the AI trends besides the security piece that you mentioned that you're starting to see in home technology?
So, we're not seeing the use of AI for things like lookup and search within our systems yet, except for the specific kind of cases that I described with surveillance video and things. However, I think all of that is changing very quickly. And there's a little bit of a dichotomy here because a lot of our clients are so private and are so concerned about their personal spaces and things, they don't want to open that up to the cloud, right? They
Okay.
don't want to be listened to and sniffed and all that stuff. They want their castle kind of locked down with a moat around it. And as you know, AI really kind of implicates that there's connectivity
Yep.
to the cloud because that's where the gestalt of all this intelligence is living. That's on one hand. On the other hand, a lot of these clients are people that are involved in AI as an industry and in the tech world. So they're in the business of looking and exploring where AI can have a fit. And
Okay.
so my feeling is just like things like Nest thermostats and Ring cameras, which were all deployed really in mass consumer channels, not at the bespoke top of 1/4 of 1%. You're going to see the same thing happen with AI. It will weave itself into all of these products and projects, but it's going to happen in a way where our clients feel insulated.
Makes sense. You mentioned a term earlier in the conversation, your chocolate cake or your tried and true recipe, which I think is a great approach to this because too often there's too much experimentation that goes on, and every project becomes custom. So what's Metro 18's chocolate cake if I'm building a house and I'm coming to you guys to do the technology?
Well, this is something that has evolved over, my 40-year career doing this in which I have at times not used something that produced a definable, repeatable outcome.
Okay.
And about 15 years ago, we decided, and this was also a really fortunate confluence of the iPhone and the mobile handhelds, things that we didn't plan for that were coming into market. But we decided that if there was any way that we would be able to really stamp out a larger volume of systems and kind of take the show on the road and do it in other places successfully, we would have to be like somewhat like McDonald's, where we had a DRP, a definable repeatable process, which
Okay.
every successful business has at some level, right? That's kind of business school 101. I don't take credit for that. And so what we said is, okay, well, if we're going to do that, we need to become a one trick pony. And what's the pony we're going to get on? And at that time, we decided, well, for lighting control, there's this company that invented the solid state dimmer, and they're in the Smithsonian for doing it, called Lutron. That's probably a good bet,
Yep.
right? Lutron is not a consumer toy. It's a life safety system that was extracted and derived from industrial and commercial applications. That's how it started. So we're exclusively a Lutron, and not only Lutron, but Lutron Homeworks. So we don't
Okay.
do the lesser variations, right? Radio Raw, Cassetta, things like that. Not that they're bad products, but we want the life safety version,
Yeah.
right, for our
And it's a
clients.
it's a product and you know how to support and
I,
wash, rinse,
I,
repeat.
I've been a Lutron dealer since 1990. So
That
I've definitely started to get good. We've gotten good at it.
yeah,
And
that should
then
tell you something right there.
and then the other thing, kind of by association, is Lutron shades. There's a lot of shade products out there, but Lutron shades really have the kind of rigor that the lighting stuff does,
Okay.
right? So we do shades, but we only do shades if it's Lutron, and we really stick to that. If it's a project that doesn't want to use Lutron, then we respectfully excuse ourselves because it's not what we do, and it's okay. We're not a fit for everybody, right?
And
Then kind of the next in line, or our second largest manufacturer vendor in terms of yearly revenue or sales, is Cisco for networking gear, and that's a little counterintuitive. You would think it'd be speakers or home automation equipment. It's not, because every job, no matter how big it is or how small it is, it has a network. And at a minimum, it has to have a certain entry level threshold of network to be tethered to our service and remote monitoring. So that's why that is such a significant product in our arsenal. After Lutron and after networking, now we start getting into the AV toys, the fun stuff. So Sonance and James Loudspeaker has been an absolute standard for us now for 15 years.
okay.
For all of the architectural built-in speaker applications, and then Savant as our only and sole home automation platform,
Okay.
primarily used to control TVs and distribute video, and also as a music streaming and distribution platform.
How did you guys settle on Savant as the control platform for your chocolate cake?
Well, before Savant, I worked with other manufacturers over the years, and one of them also still a very large business in this niche industry, is a product and was a product that required bespoke programming, actual writing of code, compiled code. And we decided that if we really wanted to take the show on the road and have this kind of repeatability, we needed to eliminate all the variables involved in custom programming. And that left us with only one or two choices, and we chose the one that is the higher end in the industry kind of category.
Okay. And when was that? When did you make that decision?
2010.
All right, so you're 15 years into Savant
15.
being your one and
And
only. Or...
Savant's only 16 years old.
So you've probably gone through some of the heartaches with it, but you're still there.
We still have a couple of the original card frame systems that we just can't get the clients are like, it's working. We can't get them off of it. It is end of life. They know, we've been totally transparent that when that thing dies, their house goes dark.
Yeah.
But they love it and it's great. So no, so it's been a great trajectory. And over the years I started off with AMX, which was way back in the day, in the late 80s, and Fast and Panja. And I've seen all those iterations over the years of different manufacturers and different products, different approaches. And Savant's not perfect. We're not perfect. However, in my career, I have never had a platform like this that would be as stable and predictable so that we could do hundreds and hundreds of deployments and most importantly, support them post installation for years. That's the important thing because no matter how great a job you do of designing the system up front or of installing a bunch of wires during construction or even building a rack of equipment at the end of the job, your success is going to be measured by one thing, and that is what is the client's experience after they've been living in the home.
Can I turn the TV on reliably is what it ultimately boils down to.
And if it doesn't go on, how quickly can you fix the problem?
As a Savant customer myself, I like to think that you've probably made the right choice in doing that. And obviously the volume of work that you guys do and the areas you serve kind of speaks for itself in that approach.
And not to say that there are not people that are not successful using other products and developing their own recipe to do that, right? I respect them because I feel that's harder to do than our approach.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like they have their chocolate cake too, if you will, and it's something that's repeatable.
It's a lemon meringue pie.
There you go. All right, a vanilla cake. One of the things that I hear customers frequently complain about is they got the technology guys involved too late, right? They're ready to put up drywall and they started to figure out, hey, I might want a TV over here, or I got to start thinking about this, and then it becomes a rush to get some pre-wire in or get it done. Tell me, in a perfect world, when do you guys get involved in a project, part one, and if that client waits till 5 days before drywall, is it too late at that point?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we do get in those situations. We like to come in absolutely as early as possible. And the way that we like to do that actually is to be introduced as a consultant, not as a wiring guy or a TV company.
Okay.
And the reason being is because if you design the infrastructure to be embedded in a home under construction or to be retrofit into an older home, if you design that infrastructure correctly, then you are doing the biggest service responsibly to the client because you're leaving them with a flexible solution to where they could do almost anything they want later. Conversely, if you don't do that in a flexible way, the client becomes pigeonholed and stuck in a corner to where they can only do one solution, and that may not be a great solution for them, or it might be twice of what they were planning on spending. That's a huge disservice to the client. So the earlier that we can get involved, so ideally, we like to get involved when the mechanical, electrical, plumbing consultants, engineering consultants are brought.
Okay.
Because everything we do touches electrical, it touches the mechanical systems for ventilation and cooling, space planning, even structural coordination. If a client wants to do recessed shade pockets on every window, but you've got structural members or moment frames or shear structures, that's a problem. And there's nothing worse showing up at a construction site when they're asking you to start wiring the job. and you can't put a bunch of
No.
shade pockets in because nobody did that planning. That is the worst conversation you want to have with the client that you just sold $1 million of watching better TV to,
Yep.
right?
So yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like you can't cut a shade pocket through an I beam. Like,
Well,
well,
you
I
well
guess you can. I
you
have
can.
seen
That's
it done.
that's that's called remodeling your brand new structure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think too often people think, oh well, they think of companies like Metro 18 as the AV guys or the TV guys, and oh yeah, TVs go on the wall last. But technology has become so integrated into the home that the sooner you get engaged, the better the end product is going to be.
that you're bringing up a really important point here, which is it ties to what I led with as our biggest categories. It's actually not TV and music anymore. It's actually the core life and life safety systems, lighting, because you can't survive without lights in your house safely. Window treatments, because you need some way to control either light or privacy or things like that. And communication, networking, right? That all ties to everything. Those are actually the core priorities.
You mentioned one other core priority earlier that I don't know why you didn't put in that life safety, which is the golf simulator. So our next episode is going to be dedicated to golf simulators and
And
planning on
bowling
that.
alleys.
And bowling alleys. Are you seeing a lot of demand for golf simulators in your market right now?
Uh, Lately, yes,
What do you think?
absolutely.
What do you think's driving that?
Well, not only a demand for it, but a shift in people dedicating a space just for watching TV versus trying to do a flexible space that they could use both as a golf sim or
Got it.
to show movies or watch a program in,
So
right?
it's,
So
instead of dedicating the space to a home theater, they're taking that same space and saying, "Hey, I might want to watch a movie, or I might want to hit golf balls into it."
that's right. Or in the case of the room that I'm in right now in my home, it's not a big space, but initially the thought was, oh, this will be a great theater demo. What does it actually get used for? Number one, quiet Zoom calls. Number two, music practice, right? So we don't hear the instruments through the house,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Yeah, yeah. So
space is
these
expensive.
spaces, this space is expensive, but also, you don't really know until you live in the house how you're going to end up using spaces. The more that you can prognosticate, you can plan for flexibility in everything that we're doing. That's a really core tenet to our approach with designing all of these systems is the maximum amount of flexibility for as long a tail as possible.
As we wrap up here, Jay, I guess what's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's building an estate level property or getting ready to remodel a property when it comes to home technology? You give them one piece of advice. Where do you draw that line?
I would recommend that they reach out to their trusted partners that are already on the project, the architects, the contractors, maybe even some of the consultants, and identify who would be a great partner to add to that ecosystem, who is not only going to do a great job during the course of planning and construction, but most importantly, that has a track record of being there to support consumers long term in the place where they live.
So it's not go follow some shiny object and pick out what piece of technology they think they
Or
absolutely have to have.
or not make the wrong decision based on price when you end up having to redo the system three times and it costs you 4x of what you would have originally spent.
Oh, yeah, and it sounds like you've seen that firsthand over the last 40 years.
We're
So,
watching that movie right now on 20 projects.
well, that's great, Jay. Uh, you've been awesome. This has been very insightful as we kick off the Intelligent Estate. Metro 18 is obviously a highly regarded company within the industry. I'll put your contact information in here
Thank
so
you.
people can know how to get a hold of you, as well as some images of some projects that you guys have recently done. But I'd
Great.
like to thank you for being our inaugural guest on the Intelligent Estate. Very, very happy to have you, happy to call you a friend, and wish you nothing but the best of success as you continue to rid the world of poorly installed home technology systems out there. So,
It's been an honor, Travis. And yes, we appreciate your friendship and all the collaboration supporting our industry. We need more people involved to help our industry grow in a positive direction and to ultimately serve all of these consumers in a way that will raise the level of professionalism and how our industry is perceived. So thank you for doing that.
Amen to that. So thank you, Jay. I appreciate it.
All right. It's
All
great.
right.
Thank you, brother.
All right. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
That was a great conversation and exactly the kind of insight we're here for. Now, before we wrap up, I want to take a few minutes to answer some listener questions. First off, we had a question from Jennifer in Palm Beach who asked, if I'm starting from scratch on a new build, what's the most important system to plan for first? That's a great question, Jennifer. The answer is infrastructure. The network is the nervous system of your smart home. So before you get dazzled by a device or a technology, make sure you're working with a home technology company who prioritizes in structured cabling, robust Wi-Fi coverage, and a centralized control system. That way, everything else, from audio to lighting, is built on a solid foundation. I can't stress enough how important the pre-wire and infrastructure planning is to any new home build. Next up was Alex from Park City, who asked, how much room do I need for a golf simulator in my home? Alex, I get this question all the time as we used to sell and install golf simulators. Our next episode will feature an in-depth discussion on golf simulators, so stay tuned for that with a couple of industry experts. That's a wrap on this episode of The Intelligent Estate, where luxury meets smart living. We covered a lot today. The evolution of smart homes, a full walkthrough on what's possible, and some serious insight from Jay Bacalar of Metro 18 on what it really takes to integrate technology into high-end living spaces without compromising design. If you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform and leave a quick rating or review. It helps more design lovers, homeowners, and tech-forward thinkers find the show. And hey, if you've got questions, ideas, or just want to show off your own intelligent estate, reach out to us on Instagram at the Intelligent Estate Podcast. I'd love to hear from you and maybe even feature your question in an upcoming episode. Thanks for engaging with us. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.